Jones with the St. Lucie Education Foundation, and welcome to Foundation Focus. The Education Foundation is a 501c3 not-for-profit corporation that works with the school district and the school board to further public education. For over 25 years, the foundation has been providing grants to the district and teachers and scholarships to our students. We also support mentoring programs and the annual Night of the Star program. Our single largest program each year are student grants. Each year we provide around 30 grants, and our goal is to grow that number significantly in the next few years. Today we will preview two of our most exciting grant programs, and our first is a science grant, and later on we will preview a grant called First Generation. So I'd like to welcome Paul Reif, who is with the District Science Fair Coordinator. And welcome, Paul.
Thank you.
I'm really glad you're here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Paul and I are neighbors. We both work at the district office. We see each other just about daily. And just for the record, I've never beaten Paul in. He's an early bird. So, Paul, you work long hours. Paul, first of all, let's just start off. I'd like you to tell the audience a little bit about yourself, and then we can move into the grant program.
Well, before I start talking about myself, I want to thank you, Tom, for what you've done for the students of St. Lucie County. We couldn't run these science fairs, both the regional fair, the state fair, and the international fair, without your support. And you have been instrumental, and the foundation has been instrumental over the 3 years that I've been directing the fairs, in order to make sure that the students have this great opportunity.
Well, thank you, Paul. I really appreciate those kind words.
You know, it's the truth, and it's on behalf of the students of St. Lucie County. And when I say St. Lucie County, we open the St. Lucie County Regional Fair to all students in St. Lucie County, public school students, religious school students, charter school students, and homeschool students. So this is a truly regional St. Lucie County fair.
That's terrific. Well, for us, it's a labor of love, and we love supporting our public school students. So tell us about the science fair, because the one thing that I learned was that it's not just for the students that are the brightest and the best. It's also for students that have an interest in science and might be just venturing in it.
Well, we started with the elementary school fair,
okay,
where we offer it through K through 5, and this year we've had it at 5 different venues. In May, April and May, we had it at Oxbow, St. Lucie Aquarium, the Heathcote Gardens, the Manatee Observation Education Center, and Savannah's Preserve State Park. And we have the students, K through 5, showcase their projects that they do. It's not judged, but it affords them to explain to the public what they've learned, to prepare them for middle school and high school, where it becomes a competition.
Now, part of the focus in the school system certainly is what they call STEAM: science, technology, engineering, arts, and math.
Yes.
The science fair, what aspect of that, of STEAM, does it focus on?
Well, science, technology, engineering, and math, yes.
Okay.
We have 13 different categories that fit into science, technology, engineering, math.
Okay.
Okay. And we have, this year was our 28th annual St. Lucie County Regional Fair, where we had 223 projects and 267 students attend.
And now, is this still K through 8?
This is 6 through 12.
Oh, 6 through 12,
and
which is the regional fair now.
This is the regional fair.
Right.
And it's judged. We have the opportunity then to send 14 students to Lakeland.
Okay.
Of the 14 students who went to Lakeland representing St. Lucie County, 13 of them walked across the stage.
Is that right?
And won an award.
So these are the students that held the fair over at Indian River State College?
Indian River State College.
Okay. There were a lot of students there.
Yeah, there was, as I say, 267 students attended. Okay. And then 3 of them were selected by a panel of judges from people within our community, and most of them are educators or scientists. And 3 of them went to Intel International in Phoenix last week, and 1 of them won a 3rd place award in medicine and microbiology.
Well, so we have a student that placed in the International Science Fair.
Yes, we did.
That
And
is
last
terrific.
Last year, we also had 2 students who placed in the International Science Fair. So
That's
it's
remarkable,
a
huh?
great learning experience. And then in addition to supporting the science fair, the Education Foundation, along with the Treasure Coast Research Park and AT&T, sponsored a drone, what I called skilled development learning opportunity for the students at Dan McCarty Middle School, Sam Gaines Academy, and Westgate. This wasn't a competition, this wasn't a challenge. It afforded these students the opportunity to explore what drones can do. And as we all know, that drones are going to be a significant part of our future.
Now, did they build the drones, or was
Now,
this
these
okay.
through the grants that you helped us with, Treasure Coast Research Park and AT&T, we purchased drones. We had a short period of time, so ideally what we wanted to do is allow the students just to learn how to fly them. Next year, we would love to expand the program to teach them coding and programming so that we can have an obstacle course where they will be able to fly them in a pre-programmed environment. And hopefully we're going to have that at the Treasure Coast Research Park.
What are some of the uses of a drone? I mean, what are some of the things that we are teaching our children?
Well, basically, drones are going to be a very significant part of our future. Okay, as you know, Amazon is thinking about or exploring the concept of delivering their products to people's homes via drones. We also know that what drones have done for the military. The Treasure Coast Research Park, which is an agricultural-based entity, is using drones to monitor the crops within St. Lucie County.
Okay, so the drones are obviously aerial.
Yes.
And now, how are they monitoring crops? Just visually, or are there sensors around also?
Well, right now it's visual. They're taking visual pictures. They're analyzing the pictures. Are there diseases there? The quality of some of these cameras is nothing short of brilliant. I mean, you can actually see the smallest minute things. And at the drone competition, Terrence O'Leary gave me a pair of virtual glasses that you literally put on, and it's programmed, and you are like behind the steering wheel of the drone, and you are able then to fly the drones.
So you are the pilot.
You are literally the pilot. You're seeing what the drone sees, and you're up however high or far away that you are. It's really a great opportunity for students to learn about our future.
Now, there are also drone programs at other schools too, as well as the high school level.
Westwood has a drone program.
That's great. Just backing up a little bit, let's just talk about the grants in general. The foundation provides a grant. You would write that grant, and just tell me, how do you choose the different topics, or how do you, actually, think through the process about, where are we going to spend the funds to further the children's education?
We use the funds for the 3 fairs: the regional fair at our RSC, where we had 200 some odd students attend. Then we sent 14 students to Lakeland, and then the 3 students to International. This year they were in Phoenix. Next year they'll be in LA.
Now, we don't fund the entire program because the need is always greater than the resources.
You have funded 90% of the program.
Well, that's great. I'm glad we did that.
You have funded 90% of the program. And once again, if it wasn't for the Education Foundation, the students of St. Lucie County wouldn't have this brilliant opportunity.
Well, thank you. Let me just ask another question. What do you think has been the real benefit of the students having a science fair?
It exposes them to real-world problems. The population of this planet is going to reach a proportion in about 2050 where it's going to be difficult for the planet to sustain the size of the population. So we're going to have to find ways to feed and shelter these people, and science and technology is going to afford that opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I had noticed at the science fair there's a lot of studies being done with plants, and there's a lot of studies being done in terms of products. Like, for instance, a lot of products have a lot of science with it, and there's a manufacturing process involved, and the students are really studying that.
Yeah, and the gentleman Kaushal, who won at International, was doing a project dealing with cancer research and eradicating that disease.
Now, how long have you been the science coordinator?
This will be my third year.
Your third year.
Third year, yes.
Have any students graduated from school yet? Probably not. They're still
Yes,
in
they
college.
have. Yes, we had one student 2 years ago, Robert Backus, who won first place at the state fair 2 years ago. He went on to Stanford. He joined the debating team, and he spent his freshman year traveling all around the world to debate other organizations. His mother, who has worked very, very hard in supporting Robert, last year came to me and donated several $100s in Robert's name because she believed that Robert's participation in the science fair was instrumental in his success.
You know, Paul, that's all of it, isn't it? Just helping, one child and helping a group of children and just watching them flourish.
It's really all about the students of St. Lucie County.
Yeah, it's a true labor of love.
It really is.
Paul, now let me back way up now. You've been working in the school district for how long?
This will be my 10th year.
Your 10th year.
Yes.
And what did you do prior to 10 years?
Well, I wasn't educated in education. I was in the apparel manufacturing business for 3.5 decades.
Okay, so you were in business, okay? So you brought, I'm sure, a lot of that business experience to your job and helping the students understand the business of science also.
Well, I gave them a structure in how to do a science fair project. Like everything else in business, you start with an end in mind, and how do you achieve that? Sometimes you work backwards. And I try to give my students, when I was a classroom teacher and when I was a science fair coordinator, dates and deadlines in order to make sure that they finish their assignment when it was due. Did I always succeed? No, but not for lack of trying.
That's terrific. Let me ask you a final question.
Yes.
What are your plans for next year? I mean, let's just say that the Education Foundation was more successful in raising funds and we were able to help your project even more.
Well, this year I was instrumental in getting almost all of the schools in St. Lucie public schools to send students to the regional fair. Next year, it is my goal to have every public school, K-6 through 8, and high school, send students to the regional fair. That's my goal, because I think it's a tremendous learning opportunity for the students, and it gives them tremendous benefits. And something else I'll mention, the Intel, which is the organization that runs the International Science Fair, has a Broadcom Master's program for middle school students. One of our students 2 years ago entered the Broadcom Masters and won and placed and met the President of the United States at the White House. So there are significant benefits and opportunities out there. The gentleman who placed this year, last year, won a $10,000 special award for his project.
Well, Paul, you've inspired me to go out this summer and raise even more money for the science fair, so I will work diligently all summer long.
On behalf of the students of St. Lucie County, I hope you are successful.
Thank you. Well, it's a labor of love, so I'll just go out there and start raising more
Thank
and
you
more
very
money.
much.
Well,
Thank you very, very much. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank
we
you.
appreciate all you do and the help that you afford us.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, we'll take a short break, and our next guest will be Stacy Sommer from Fort Pierce Central High School, who has a wonderful program called First Generation. And we'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you.
I'm a teacher. Let me tell you what I make. I make learning a privilege, not a chore, and frustration a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy. and giving up impossible. I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought, and unconventional methods common. I'm a teacher. I make more.
Welcome back to Foundation Focus, and our next guest is Stacy Sommer. Welcome, Stacy.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you coming here. We're talking about teacher grants, which is the largest program for the Education Foundation. And I'm new. I can still say that because I've been working here for less than a year. But when I was looking at the grant program, I came across your grant, First Generation. And this is a grant that the foundation has been sponsoring for a number of years. But when I read it for the first time, I said, wow, this is a special program. It really just stood out. So I want to thank you for being a part of that. And but what I wanted to start off, Stacy, is maybe you can just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you have come to work for the school district.
Okay. I actually am in my 24th year of education. I started off as a classroom teacher, working in special education and also with at-risk students. And then through that, I found that I was the kind of the teacher that the students would come to with issues or problems or want to kind of talk to about, personal things. So I shifted my focus into counseling because I found that that was something that I truly enjoyed doing, was being kind of that person for the students. And now have been a guidance counselor now for 17 years. So it's been something that I truly, truly enjoy. And I've gone through the gamut of age ranges from elementary all the way through high school, and I know I found my passion with the upper level students because I've truly been able to see the tools that you can give them, put them in their hands, and be able to watch them go and run and get into colleges and succeed. And a lot of times when they're questioning themselves and what they can do, giving them that encouragement to be able to take that next step and really watch them do it, and it's very, very rewarding.
So you have a full-time job at Fort Pierce Central High as a guidance counselor.
Correct.
And tell us how you came to either create or be a part of the First Generation program.
It was through my role as a counselor. I was working with seniors who, part of our job is to help them complete applications for colleges, encourage them to apply for financial aid, help them, do their FAFSA to see if they're eligible for any grants and aid prior to, their college admission. And there was one student in particular that I was working with that had applied for a very large ROTC scholarship and felt very strongly that she was going to be able to receive that, had been accepted to Temple University, was very excited to be able to, take that and basically, start her life and everything that she'd wanted to do, and ultimately that scholarship fell through at the last moment. So she hadn't done any backup planning. So it was literally early May, and we started looking for colleges within the state of Florida because we knew she had received her Bright Future Scholarship, and she had some other things, some backup plans as far as finances, but never really looked at any other schools because she really had her heart set on Temple.
Okay. So your program actually focuses on students who are the first in their family to ever go to college or want to go to college.
Yes.
So, and I know you and I have spoken about this a little before, but many times these students just don't have real knowledge or support on the process. So with the student that you had mentioned, this program would help that student have a broader scope in their application process and kind of guide them along the way, right? Is that correct?
Absolutely. She was from a family, her parents were both immigrants, so they were new to the country, didn't have a lot of knowledge or speak English very well to be able to assist her with any part of the application process, college visits, that type of thing. She was adamant about getting out of the state of Florida. She truly wanted to go to school out of state. So being that she had the Bright Future Scholarship and that only pays within the state of Florida, we got her as far away as we could, which was Pensacola.
Okay.
We got her in.
It's still Florida.
Yes. But I asked her, I said, because I said, will you come and see me? We'll go to lunch before you go. And I said, when are you leaving? And she's like, well, we're going tomorrow. I can see you for lunch, and then my parents will pick me up and we'll go. And I asked her, I said, well, do you have a place to stay? Are you visiting? She's like, no, we're driving all the way up through the night. They're going to drop me off in the morning and then turn around and come home.
Oh, my, yes. So you just knew that there was a lot of pressure.
Right. So that at that moment in time, I realized that there was definitely a need to be able to provide just even the students with the tools to know the resources that are available once they do get to the college, as far as financial aid, knowing that there's, housing support, that there's, medical support, all of those things she was not aware of, and her parents didn't know who to ask to be able to assist her. So that's how I kind of started First Generation.
Okay, so the program helps the student through the application process, or the right, the application
Correct.
process. Now, do they also help them in terms of visiting schools or colleges?
Yes. When we come back to school in September, that's when we start the actual application process. We have meetings after school in the computer labs where we sit down, and now through a program that the school district has purchased called Naviance. It's a phenomenal platform where the students can put in all their demographic data and be able to align themselves with proper colleges. So in that point, if we want to stay within 200 miles of Fort Pierce, they can put that parameter in and know, okay, I can get into these particular colleges. And what we do through First Generation, we visit 3 colleges a year. That's what I try to do, and try to shuffle it around.
Okay.
Each year we do a different trio of colleges.
Now, are the colleges all in-state, or do you select some out-of-state?
We typically stay in state due to budget, because we do rent a charter bus, and that
I see,
typically
okay.
we take about 65 students on each run that we go to. This year we did FIU down in Miami, FAU in Boca, and the University of South Florida in Tampa.
Now, you mentioned 65 students. Is that the number of students that are typically in the program each year?
Yes, we typically start with between 60 and 70, and this year we finished it with about 60. So a couple will
Okay.
drop off due to other commitments and things like that, but we've stayed pretty strong for the last 4 years with about 60
So
average.
you're actively working with about 60 students to actually place them into the college of their choice?
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you actually help them with the application and,
Yes.
and that as well?
Yes, the essay writing process, the
Okay.
application process. First Generation also holds a FAFSA support night for the parents so that
Right,
they can
okay.
come in. We give them the information required as far as their tax returns, bank statements, and that type of thing. The parents will come in with a manila envelope. We take them to the computer labs after we have a presentation in the auditorium and walk them through that process so that everything is completed
Okay.
that night.
And FAFSA, of course, is the federal program where students begin to apply for aid. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so your program actually helps them through that process in terms of understanding how to place the application, meet certain deadlines, and then ultimately receive the funding, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, do you also help with scholarships, because you're a guidance counselor and the foundation has a scholarship program?
Absolutely. That's one of our favorite times of the year, is when the scholarship guide comes out. So that's the first thing that we do, is when it comes out, I take them back into the computer lab. They've already started the application process, because there's the local and the foundation scholarship. We get through all of that. And then the nice thing about the grant is I tell them there's absolutely no excuse not to apply for scholarships, because I literally provide them with the ink from the computers to the paper to the postage. So there's no reason that they should not apply. It just takes the time to do it. As you know, it is a very tedious process.
Sure.
I mean, they spend hours upon hours on it, but we've had great results with that program.
Now, if you were to guess, how many students have you helped over the years to actually get into college? Hundreds and hundreds?
I would say
Easily,
hundreds.
right?
Easily, yes.
Now, is this program only at Fort Pierce Central High?
We started it at Fort Pierce Central. I know last year they had tried to expand it to Fort Pierce Westwood and Port St. Lucie High School. And this year, I think Treasure Coast High School picked it up as well. So I know it was a district initiative to try to take it to all of the high schools to be able to support those students.
Yeah, I've actually seen last year, in terms of the grants, there are programs that are named differently, but I suspected very strongly that they came from the First Generation program. And I think that's terrific, because now we have other schools looking at it, and even some K through 8 schools are starting to look at it in terms of just mentioning to the students and in like a group fashion that, there is an opportunity to go to college. And and I think you had found this also, many of our students have never even left the county.
Correct.
So they just don't know, what's beyond the county. So your program opens their eyes and helps them in a safe environment to actually visit some of these colleges.
Yes, and the nice thing is we do have Indian River State College literally right down the road, and it's a phenomenal resource for a
Right.
lot of our students that don't have the means to get away, or want to stay home for the first few years of college. But the nice thing is being able to take them to visit the different campuses that range from, over 60,000 enrolled at the University of Central Florida to a smaller campus like FAU that's not that small anymore, but it gives them a perspective of how different it can be, even still similarly close to home. You're 2 hours away, but you're in a completely different environment. And I think it's really benefited a lot of students that have done it because they had their heart set on a certain school, and then they go and visit another, and they're like, wow, this is something that I really didn't think I would want, but you've changed my mind.
That's terrific. Now, next year, when you place your grant application,
Yes.
do you have any changes in mind or any thoughts?
I mean, we've done a really, really good job with what we had. I mean, we always fundraise in addition to what we receive, from the foundation, because the transportation is probably the most expensive portion of our grant, expenditures. And we always try. We were able to, a couple years ago, be able to go and do an overnight trip up to Florida State and do Florida A&M and Florida State kind of in a roundabout trip. So those are the ones that the kids always enjoy and always ask for, and that's typically our end of the year culminating visit. We weren't able to do it this year, but that's something that we always push for. And then, of course, being able to fund the students, even something as simple as score reports that they need to be able to send to the college after they've taken their SAT and ACT. That's $22 per report that a lot of times the students don't even have the funds to do. So we've been able to do just small things like that. And the postage on the scholarship applications themselves, all of those little things add up. So, I mean, we truly appreciate all the support we've received from the foundation, and especially the scholarships that the students are able to receive as part of, being part of First Generation, going through the application process and actually seeing not only the tangible rewards, as far as the scholarship funding, but being able to say, hey, I've done this, I'm going to college, and they may not have been able to do so without all of the support that they've received.
Well, thank you very much. The teacher grant program works hand in glove with the scholarship program, and at the end of the year, it's really exciting to see 60 students come up and get a scholarship, and then knowing that many of them were also the beneficiaries of some of the grant programs as well. So thank you very much for all of the hard work that you have done over the years with this program. The good news is that the foundation is looking to provide more money for our grants next year. So put your grant application in early, and hopefully we won't cut it as much as we normally do. But thank you so much for all of your help.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
Well, that's our program for May, and I just wanted to thank our staff at WLX TV for all of their support for education as well. Thank you very much.